February 4th, 1999, 4:47 a.m. Mittelberg, Germany. Temperature, -3 degrees Celsius. The metal detector screams. Hans Meyer's knees hit frozen mud before his brain catches up. At 46, twice divorced, living in a studio apartment above a bakery that makes his clothes smell permanently of yeast, Hans moves fast when equipment beeps. In 5 hours of searching mud that seeps through his worn Bundeswehr surplus boots, this is the first hit that matters. Carl. His voice comes out raspy. He's been breathing cold air too long. Carl, get over here. Now. Karl Heinz stumbles through darkness, heavy boots crunching frost-dead grass. He's 32, still has hair, still believes treasure hunting will make them rich instead of just cold and poor, and occasionally arrested for trespassing. His breath fogs white in Hans's headlamp beam. Another horseshoe. Karl's teeth chatter. Because I swear to God, Hans, if this is another... Shut up and dig. Hans tears at earth with gloved hands. His fingers know metal like some people know faces. Not iron, not steel. This is smooth. This is... bronze. He digs faster, mud under his nails, cold burning his knuckles. The object emerges slow, like something being born reluctant. A disc, maybe 30 centimeters across. 2 kilograms, his hands estimate from decades of digging, and covering its surface, catching his headlamp in ways that make his heart do something arrhythmic and wrong. Gold, gold inlays, stars, a crescent moon. Patterns that look random until his brain snags on them, recognizes them even though he's never seen anything like this before. Holy Mother of God, Karl whispers in German. Hans lifts it. Careful, like holding a newborn. Mud falls away revealing more gold. 7 stars arranged in cluster. Moon crescents. A sun disk lines along the edge that might be... Are those measurements? Are those calculations? We're rich, Karl says. His voice shakes with hope that'll curdle to regret in about 6 months. Hans stares at muddy hands holding bronze that shouldn't exist. At gold from Cornwall, England. He doesn't know that yet, but somehow feels it. Placed by Bronze Age craftsmen who shouldn't have had the knowledge at star patterns that look like something from a textbook. 3,600 years before textbooks. The headlamp flickers, battery dying. Yeah, Hans says, we're rich. Temperature drops to -4. Wind picks up from the east. Somewhere in the valley below, a dog barks at nothing. Hans Meyer holds human history in muddy hands and makes the decision that'll haunt him until liver failure takes him in 2011. He's going to sell it. November 1999, Leipzig. Dealer's shop. 3rd floor walk-up. Temperature inside, 24 degrees. Too hot. Radiator clanking. Hans watches the dealer examine his disc under lamplight. The shop smells like cigarette smoke and leather-bound books nobody reads. Sweat runs down Hans's spine. Not from heat, from knowing. The dealer, Rolf something, Hans didn't catch the last name, turns the disc slowly. He's maybe 60, wearing glasses thick enough to start fires, doesn't speak, just examines. 5 minutes, 10. Hans's left knee bounces. Always does when he's nervous. Can't stop it. Where'd you get this? Rolf finally asks. Dug it up. Legal land. Permission. All lies. Rolf sets it down. Lights another cigarette. The shop already tastes like ashtray. 15,000 marks. That's... Hans stops. He wanted 30,000. Needed 30,000. Rent's 3 months overdue. That's too low. Take it somewhere else, then. Rolf smokes, waits. Hans's knee bounces faster. He picks up the disc, feels its weight. Bronze and gold and 3,600 years of human achievement reduced to money he'll spend on bills and beer. Fine. 15. Munich, collector's apartment, Schwabing district. Late afternoon sun through dirty windows. The disc sits on a coffee table between marijuana in plastic bag and ashtray shaped like naked woman. Karl Marx poster on wall. Smell of incense failing to cover smell of weed. Werner Schmidt lies on couch, studying the disc. He's 38, deals mostly in stolen art. Specifically doesn't ask questions because questions complicate transactions. His girlfriend Claudia sits cross-legged on floor, also staring at disc. "It's watching me," she says. Third time today. Werner's starting to worry. "Baby, it's a disc. Bronze disc. Very old. Very valuable. Can't watch anything." "The stars." She traces finger above gold without touching. Werner taught her never touch the merchandise. 7 of them. That's the Pleiades, the 7 sisters. Werner sits up. "The what?" "Star cluster. We studied it in archaeology class." She leans closer. 23 years old. Art history major at Ludwig Maximilian University. Probably too smart to date a criminal. But everybody makes mistakes. "Whoever made this knew exactly what they were doing. This isn't decoration. This is a map." Werner looks at disc. Really looks. The gold does something weird with light. Almost glows. Can't be glowing. Bronze doesn't glow. But he can't stop staring either. "How do you know?" he asks. "Because I pay attention." She pulls disc closer. Studies it with intensity usually reserved for Werner's drug schedules, and which dealers owe money. And because these star positions are exact, someone mapped the night sky. Someone who shouldn't have been able to. Werner's phone rings. Business call. He steps into bedroom to take it. Claudia stays with the disc. Alone. She touches one of the gold stars. Just fingertip. Just once. Later she'll tell Werner her finger tingled. Like static electricity, but different. Like touching something that touches back. She doesn't tell Werner because he'll think she's high again. She's not high. Halle, Germany. State Office for Heritage Management. Dr. Harold Meller's office, 11:34 a.m. Office temperature, 18 degrees. Heating broken again. Meller's phone rings. Ancient desk phone, beige, receiver held together with electrical tape. He's hunched over satellite imagery of Bronze Age sites, wearing reading glasses with one lens cracked. Same leather jacket he's had since 1987, that his ex-wife burned in effigy after the divorce. Meller speaking. Voice rough. Too much coffee, not enough sleep. "Harold, Stefan." Meller sits up. Stefan calls maybe 3 times a year, always with information, always expensive information. "What do you want?" "What do you want? That's the question." Stefan sounds smug. Probably smoking. Always smoking. "I've seen photos of something. Bronze Age disc gold inlays. Astronomical symbols. Real ones." Meller's hand, reaching for coffee mug, stops mid-motion. Coffee's cold anyway. Been cold for 2 hours. "What kind of symbols?" "Stars, moon, some kind of arc markings along edges. It's being sold black market. Basel area. You need to move fast before it goes to private collector and disappears forever." After Stefan hangs up, Meller sits perfectly still. 30 seconds exactly. His wall clock, cheap IKEA thing, ticks loud enough to hear. 20 years. 20 years insisting Bronze Age Europeans were sophisticated astronomers. 20 years of colleagues checking watches during his conference presentations. 20 years of being called Meller the Dreamer behind his back, and sometimes to his face. His assistant Maria, knocks, enters. 56. Been with him 12 years, seen every obsession and disappointment. "You okay? You look... I need you to make calls, Meller interrupts. Stands, grabs his battered address book, pages falling out, held together with rubber band police contacts. Anyone who owes us favors? Swiss authorities? What's happening? Vindication, Meller says. His hands shake slightly as he flips through addresses. Finally. May 2000. Meller in police station, showing photos Stefan provided. Police skeptical. Swiss don't want to cooperate. He argues for 3 hours, gets nowhere. July 2000. Conference call with Interpol. They're interested but non-committal. Meller paces his office. Phone cord tangling, nearly strangles himself twice. September 2000. Breakthrough. Informant in Basel Antiquities Market identifies Werner. Real name, Werner Schmidt. Known dealer. Willing to sell Meller books trained to Switzerland that night. October 2000. Coordination with Swiss police. They're not convinced this matters. Meller shows them photos. Explained significance. Uses words like cultural heritage and international importance. They agree to sting operation mostly to humor him. His colleagues think he's crazy. His ex-wife calls to make sure he's eating. His doctor prescribes anxiety medication he doesn't take because it makes him fuzzy, and he needs sharp. Everything depends on Werner wanting to sell. Everything depends on Meller being right. 20 years of being wrong would end his career. 20 years of being right would change history. No pressure. October 23, 2001. Hotel Metropole, Basel, Switzerland. 2:17 p.m. Room temperature, 21 degrees. Outside temperature, 16 degrees, cloudy. Third floor room overlooking Eschenvorstadt, where normal people buy bread and complain about trams. Inside this room, Harold Meller sits across from drug dealer, and between them on coffee-stained table sits artifact that might prove Bronze Age Europeans understood cosmos. Meller's heart does something arrhythmic. Been doing that since he arrived. Doctor would call it anxiety. Meller calls it anticipation. Werner slides disc across table. Still wrapped in cloth that smells like cigarettes and regret. 150,000 marks, Werner says in German. Accent suggests Munich. Cash, no questions. Behind bathroom door, Swiss police wait. 6 officers. Body armor. Probably excessive for antiquities sting, but Meller doesn't argue with Swiss police procedures. Meller unwraps the disc with hands that want to shake, but don't, because he's trained himself for exactly this moment. 30 years of archaeology, 10,000 artifacts handled. None matter like this one. Cloth falls away. His breath stops. It's real. The bronze gleams despite centuries underground, patina consistent with authentic Bronze Age burial. The gold inlays catch afternoon light streaming through half-closed blinds. 7 stars, definitely Pleiades. He'd bet his career on it, is betting his career on it, arranged in cluster. Crescent moon showing phases full disk representing sun or full moon. And along edges, curved lines his brain recognizes even as academic training screams impossible. Horizon arcs, marking solstice sunrise and sunset points. His hands begin shaking now. Can't help it. This is it. This is everything. Where did you get this? Voice steady, despite everything internal going haywire. Werner shrugs. Bought it from a guy. Mittelberg area originally. Metal detector find. That's all I know. That's all you need to know. Mittelberg, Saxony-Anhalt. Meller's jurisdiction. His territory. This disc comes from soil he's responsible for protecting, and it's been traveling through criminal hands for 2 years, while he knew nothing. He picks up disc. Weight approximately 2 kilograms, his hands confirm. Diameter roughly 32 centimeters. Thickness 4 millimeters at center, tapering to 2 at edges. Every measurement his fingers catalog automatically after decades of practice. The patina is right. The gold inlay technique is right. The wear patterns are right. This is Bronze Age. This is authentic. This is... They mapped the solstices, he whispers. Half to himself, half to God, half to Bronze Age craftsmen, 3,600 years dead. They understood celestial mechanics. They tracked lunar cycles. So we got deal or not? Werner interrupts, getting nervous. Good. He should be nervous. Meller looks up, meets Werner's eyes. Werner tries looking tough, but there's fear underneath. Probably thinks Meller's undercover police. Probably right to be scared. We have a deal, Meller says clearly. Louder. I think this is exactly what you said it was. That's the signal. Bathroom door explodes inward. Swiss police pour in shouting commands in Swiss German. Werner screams about entrapment, about lawyers, about rights. His hands go behind, back in handcuffs. He's still shouting when they lead him out. Meller doesn't watch. He's staring at Disc in his hands. At 3,600 years of impossible knowledge. At proof that everything colleagues believed about Bronze Age people is wrong. At vindication wrapped in bronze and gold and 2 kilograms of rewritten history. Swiss officer gently removes Disc for evidence processing. Dr. Meller, we need your formal statement. Of course, yes, but first, Meller pulls out phone, flips it open, speed dials office. I need to call my assistant. Maria answers on first ring. Heritage Management. Maria. His voice cracks. Can't help it. Maria, it's real. Everything I said. Everything they laughed at. It's all real. On the other end of line, Maria, who's fielded 20 years of obsessions and disappointments and crazy theories and late-night calls, starts crying. Meller cries too. Just a little. Just enough. January 2002. State Office for Heritage Management, Halle. Conservation Laboratory. Temperature, 20 degrees precisely controlled. The disc rests on white examination table under lights bright enough for surgery. Dr. Ernst Pernicka bends over it with jeweler's loupe, gray hair catching fluorescent overhead. He's 61, spent career analyzing ancient metals with precision of watchmaker and skepticism of tax auditor. His hands don't shake. They never shake. Steadiest hands in German archaeology. Tell me, Meller says from across lab. He's pacing. Been pacing for 3 months. His staff works around him like he's furniture. I see Bronze Age disc. Pernicka straightens. His spine cracks. Too many years hunching over artifacts. Approximately 32 centimeters diameter, 2.3 kilograms weight. Bronze substrate with 23% tin content. Gold inlays. Consistent patina suggesting authentic burial environment. But I need more tests. What kind of tests? All of them. Pernicka runs spectroscopy on samples microscopic enough to be invisible. Results print on dot matrix printer that sounds like mechanical death. He reads them 3 times, checks calculations twice, runs samples again because if he's wrong, careers end. His, Meller's, possibly others. Results don't change. Copper from Austria, specifically Mittelberg region. Ancient mines operational during Bronze Age. Chemical signature matches known samples. Gold from Cornwall, England. Carnan River region. Over 1,600 kilometers from Mittelberg. Trade routes that extensive shouldn't exist in 1600 BCE. But chemical signature doesn't lie. Tin from Bohemia. Maybe. Possibly British Isles. Hard to determine conclusively, but definitely not local. Definitely requiring extensive trade networks. They traded across Europe, Pernicka mutters, updating report on computer older than most grad students. Types with 2 fingers. Never learned proper technique. Cross-continental trade networks. We theorized, now we have proof. Meller hovers over shoulder. The gold inlay technique? Consistent with Bronze Age goldsmithing, gold hammered into pre-cut grooves using bronze tools. Technique matches other authenticated artifacts from period herald. Pernica turns in chair, removes glasses, cleans them on shirt, puts them back on. I'm putting this in writing. This disc is authentic Bronze Age, early 2nd millennium BCE. No question. For first time in 3 months, Meller stops pacing. His legs actually give out slightly. He catches himself on lab bench. Pernica pretends not to notice. You're sure? Meller's voice comes out smaller than intended. I'm sure. Same lab, 11:47 p.m. Only Hansen remains, hunched over desk covered with photographs. He's 32, astronomer brought in because Meller insisted they needed someone understanding celestial mechanics' youngest team member. Most skeptical until he saw the disk. His glasses slip down nose, always do. He pushes them up. 10th time in 10 minutes. Coffee mug next to keyboard says, "World's okayest astronomer." Gift from sister. Half full of coffee gone cold 3 hours ago. He drinks it anyway. Photos spread across desk show disk from every angle. Measurements, calculations, comparison charts with known astronomical data from ancient Babylon, Greece, China. This is Babylonian astronomy, he whispers to empty lab. Everyone else went home at 7 p.m. He couldn't leave, can't stop staring. This is knowledge that shouldn't exist in 1600 BCE Europe. 7 stars arranged in cluster. He's measured them obsessively. The positioning matches Pleiades cluster as viewed from Central Europe, latitude not approximate. Exact. These Bronze Age craftsmen understood stellar positions with accuracy rivaling modern measurements. The crescents map lunar phases, not just moon, specific phases. New moon, waxing crescent, full moon, waning crescent. Someone understood 29.5-day lunar cycle well enough to represent it geometrically. Sun disk marks solar year. But those horizon arcs, Hansen's measured them so many times, his calculator's battery died twice. The angles are precise, 82.7 degrees of arc. That's exact angular distance between sunrise points on summer and winter solstices as viewed from Mittelberg's latitude. They understood Earth's axial tilt. They understood relationship between tilt and apparent solar movement. They tracked celestial mechanics with precision, suggesting not just observation, but calculation. But that's impossible, Hansen says to photographs. His voice echoes slightly in empty lab. Babylonians developed this astronomy around 600 BCE. Hipparchus discovered precession in 127 BCE. How did Bronze Age Germans know this 1,000 years earlier? He runs calculations again. 4th time tonight, 7th time this week, 43rd time overall, but who's counting? Answer doesn't change. They knew. Somehow, impossibly, they knew. Hansen's phone buzzes. Text from girlfriend. You still at work? He texts back. Ancient people knew things they shouldn't. She replies, Come home. It's midnight. He doesn't go home. Not yet. Just one more calculation. Just one more measurement. Just one more confirmation that everything he learned about history of astronomy is wrong. 3 weeks later. Pernica's section of lab. Mid-afternoon. Temperature maintained at exactly 20 degrees because artifacts don't like temperature fluctuation. Pernica examines disk under magnification. Routine documentation. Cataloging every scratch, every mark, every detail for official record. This is his 47th hour examining this disk. He's meticulous. Some call it obsessive. He calls it thorough. He notices something odd. Tool marks inside holes along disk's edge, 6 holes total, each 7 millimeters diameter, spaced irregularly around perimeter. But these marks aren't from drilling holes. These are wear patterns. He adjusts magnification. The marks become clearer. Grooves, circular grooves inside holes suggesting repeated threading of cord or rope. These holes weren't just decorative. Something passed through them regularly. The disc was suspended, used, worn through use over. He checks wear depth under microscope, calculates rate of bronze wear based on known factors. His hands start shaking. They never shake. "Harold!" Voice sharp, loud. "Hansen, get over here now!" Both men appear within 30 seconds. Meller from office, Hansen from computer in corner. "Look at this." Pernicka doesn't move from microscope. Tool marks inside the holes, where patterns from cord or rope threaded through. This disc wasn't just decorative, it was used, regularly, for decades, possibly centuries. Hansen leans closer to monitor displaying magnified image. Used how? That's not all. Pernicka switches to different magnification, different section of disc. These scratches around the horizon arcs, they're from modification. Someone adjusted this disc, added elements, changed its function over time. Meller stares at monitor. His brain processes information slower than usual. Too much coffee. Not enough sleep. Too many years waiting for this moment. It evolved. Exactly. Pernicka pulls up comparison images. Look, original disc was simpler, just stars and moon phases. Then someone added sun disc later still. Someone added horizon arcs. Major advancement in understanding solstice cycles. Then, latest edition, the sunboat arc at bottom Egyptian-style symbolism appearing in Bronze Age Germany. Hansen's eyes widen behind his constantly slipping glasses. It wasn't created once. It was updated, refined, improved across generations. It was their book of knowledge, Meller says quietly. Every generation added to it, corrected it, updated it with new observations. They stand in silence. 3 men staring at computer monitor showing magnified bronze from 3,600 years ago. The lab's ventilation system hums. Fluorescent lights buzz faintly. Someone's digital watch beeps the hour. "But then why bury it?" Hansen finally asks. "Why take your most advanced astronomical instrument and bury it on hilltop as offering?" Pernicka shrugs. Religious practice? Cultural tradition? We may never know. But Meller can't stop thinking about that question. Later, long after others leave, he stands alone with disc in its protective case. "What were you afraid of?" he whispers to 3,600-year-old bronze. "What made you bury your greatest achievement?" The disc gleams under laboratory lights. Keeps its secrets. February 19th, 2002. German Archaeological Institute, Berlin. Main lecture hall. Temperature, 23 degrees. Too warm. Heating system overcompensating for winter. Room holds 63 people. Meller counted. Journalists from major papers, archaeologists from universities across Europe, museum curators, bureaucrats from culture ministry. Cameras cluster at back like mechanical insects. Microphones bristle on podium like technological porcupine. Meller stands at podium. He's wearing his good suit, only suit, bought for dissertation defense in 1987, worn maybe 10 times since. Smells faintly of mothballs. His wife, ex-wife, tied his tie this morning. They're speaking again, sort of. The disc rests beside him in protective case. Spotlit, dramatic. His hands don't shake. 20 years of preparation for this exact moment. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending. German with simultaneous English translation through headphones. His voice carries to back row good acoustics in this hall. What you're about to see will require you to reconsider everything you think you know about Bronze Age Europeans. He clicks remote. First slide appears. The disc, high-resolution photograph, every detail visible. Room goes silent. Not polite conference silence, real silence, the kind that has weight. Meller walks them through it, methodically. Metallurgical analysis showing authentic Bronze Age copper from Austria, gold from Cornwall, tin from Bohemia. Each piece of evidence building on last, structure too strong to tear down. This disc proves that Bronze Age Europeans possessed astronomical knowledge equal to, perhaps exceeding, the great civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt. He clicks to next slide comparison chart. Babylonian astronomy, Greek astronomy, the disc's astronomy. They weren't primitive farmers. They were sophisticated astronomers who tracked celestial cycles with precision that rivals our own. Hand shoots up. Professor Wilhelm Drescher, University of Munich, 73 years old, ancient grudges written into every wrinkle. Fought Meller at conferences for 15 years, called his theories romantic nonsense in published paper in 1993. Dr. Meller. Drescher stands. Dramatic. Everything Drescher does is dramatic. How do you account for the Pleiades identification? Babylonian astronomy identified that cluster around 1000 BCE. You're claiming Bronze Age Germans did it 600 years earlier? I'm not claiming, Professor Drescher. Meller's voice stays level. Calm. 20 years of practice keeping calm. I'm presenting evidence the Pleiades appear on this disk. The disk dates to 1600 BCE per carbon dating of organic material buried with it, confirmed by 3 independent laboratories. Therefore, Bronze Age Germans identified Pleiades in 1600 BCE. Logic seems straightforward. Scattered chuckles from audience. Drescher's face reddens. Or the disk is later addition to Bronze Age burial, or authentication is flawed, or there's contamination of dating samples. Meller expected this. Drescher is predictable. Professor, Dr. Pernicka's complete metallurgical analysis is available in your press packet on page 17. The copper is Bronze Age Austrian with chemical signature matching known Mittelberg mines. The gold is Bronze Age Cornish from Carnon River region. The tin is Bronze Age Bohemian. The patina is consistent with Bronze Age burial conditions in Mittelberg soil, confirmed by comparative soil analysis. Carbon dating of wooden fragments adhered to disk confirms 1600 BCE, with margin of error plus or minus 50 years. He pauses, meets Drescher's eyes. If this is fake, Professor, it's a fake created using authentic Bronze Age materials from 3 different regions of Europe, buried 3,600 years ago by someone who somehow predicted modern metallurgical analysis techniques, including spectroscopy, carbon dating, and comparative soil analysis. Which seems unlikely, unless you're suggesting time-traveling forgers. Actual laughter now. Drescher sits down, face red as sunset. Questions continue. 2 hours. Meller fields every challenge with data, evidence, precision that turns skeptics into believers one fact at a time. Until young journalist from Der Spiegel, 26 maybe, wearing jeans to press conference like barbarian, asks the question that matters. Dr. Meller, if they were this advanced, why don't we have more evidence? Where are other artifacts showing this knowledge level? Meller smiles. First genuine smile all day. That's the question keeping me awake at night. Because you're right. We don't have other artifacts like this, which suggests 2 possibilities. Either this disk is unique, Singular achievement by genius we'll never know. Or, and this is what I believe, we've been looking in wrong places. He leans forward. Intensity building. This is the part he cares about. Really cares about. Bronze Age people buried their most precious objects as religious offerings. This disc was found on hilltop, buried deliberately with valuable grave goods. How many other hilltops haven't been excavated? How many other offerings still wait in soil we haven't disturbed? How many Bronze Age sites have we dismissed as primitive without proper investigation? He clicks to final slide. Map of Europe. Bronze Age sites marked with red dots, hundreds of them, most unexplored. I believe there are hundreds more artifacts like this, hundreds more proofs of Bronze Age sophistication. And now that we know what to look for, now that we understand what's possible, he pauses. Let it build. We can find them. Press conference ends in chaos. Journalists swarm. Cameras flash like lightning storm. Questions shouted from every direction. Meller stands in center of it all, exhausted and vindicated, and already thinking about next excavation. 2 months later. April 2002. Meller's office. 2:43 a.m. Temperature 16 degrees, heating off for night. Hansen knocks on doorframe. Meller's still there, hunched over computer displaying satellite imagery of Bronze Age sites. Coffee mug next to keyboard, same mug from this morning. Coffee probably older than some of these sites. You should go home, Hansen says. Maria says you've been here since 6 a.m. Can't sleep anyway. Meller doesn't look up. Scrolling through images, marking sites, making notes. Too much to do? Hansen enters, drops into chair across from Meller's disaster of desk. Papers everywhere, coffee rings on everything. Photo of ex-wife still on shelf, never removed, probably never will be. We got UNESCO notification, Hansen reports. They're moving forward with World Heritage Site status. Good. British Museum wants to borrow the disc for exhibition. No. Louvre -- No, it stays in Germany. Found in Germany. German heritage. Stays here. Voice flat. No argument permitted. Hansen expected that answer. Harold, can I ask you something? You just did. The disc bothers you. I can tell. We proved it's real. We proved your theory's correct. UNESCO's recognizing it. You won. So why do you still look like someone stole your lunch and killed your dog? Meller finally stops scrolling. Looks at Hansen with eyes that haven't slept properly in 4 months. Dark circles underneath. Crow's feet, deeper, hair grayer than February. Because we answered one question and created 1,000 more. His voice is quiet. Defeated. Triumphant, both simultaneously. How did they learn this? Who taught them? What else did they know that we haven't discovered? And this is what really bothers me. Why did they bury it? Religious offering, probably. Probably. Meller stands, walks to window. Outside, Hallie sleeps under streetlights. City quiet at 2 a.m. But what if it's not? What if they buried it because something scared them? What if their astronomical knowledge showed them something they couldn't handle? What if they mapped the cosmos and didn't like what they found? Hansen stares at him. That's pretty dark, Harold. Everything's dark at 2:43 a.m. Meller turns back. But here's what really keeps me awake. They achieved this level of astronomical sophistication 3,600 years ago. Then that knowledge disappeared. Vanished. By the time Romans came to Germany, those tribes had forgotten their ancestors could map stars. Why? How do you lose that kind of knowledge? Civilizational collapse? War? Climate change? Maybe. Meller returns to desk, sits, looks older than 50. Or maybe they chose to forget. Maybe they looked at stars and decided some knowledge is too dangerous to keep. They sit in silence. Weight of 3,600 years pressing down. The computer hums. Ventilation system clicks on. Outside, a night bus rumbles past on empty street. Hansen breaks silence. You know what bothers me? The precision. They didn't just track stars. They understood mathematical relationships. They compensated for stellar drift. They knew things they shouldn't have had any way of knowing. Unless they observed for centuries, Meller suggests. Generations of sky watchers, each building on previous knowledge. That would require institutional memory, record-keeping, scientific method. Yes, in 1600 BCE. Yes. Hansen laughs, not quite humorous. We've been underestimating them, for centuries, calling them primitive, and they were mapping cosmos. They were. Meller pulls up another satellite image, another Bronze Age site, another place where ancient people might have buried things they couldn't explain or feared or worshipped. And then they buried their greatest achievement on hilltop and walked away. He zooms in on image, measures, makes notes. So we keep digging, Hansen says. So we keep digging. State Museum of Prehistory, Halle, Germany. 3:17 p.m. Tuesday. Temperature, 21 degrees maintained constant. The Nebra Sky Disc rests in darkened room, spotlit like religious artifact, which, in way, it is. Glass case, humidity controlled, security cameras, motion sensors. This disc is insured for more than small house. 3 million people have stood before it since museum opened special exhibition. Most take photos. Most move on. But some stay longer. Like young woman currently standing motionless. She's maybe 25, backpack slung over one shoulder, museum guidebook clutched in hands that stopped turning pages. Been standing there 11 minutes. Museum guide noticed. Museum guards noticed. Security guard in control room drinking coffee noticed. Museum guide approaches. Her name tag says Petra. She's worked here 8 years. Knows every exhibit. Gives tours to school groups who don't care, and tourists who care too much, and everyone in between. Beautiful, isn't it? Petra asks in German, accent suggesting local. Young woman jumps slightly. Sorry, yes, it's... She switches to English. German accent but vocabulary suggests foreign student. I'm studying archaeology in Berlin. We learned about this, but seeing it in person. She trails off, stares at 7 gold stars. It's impossible, she finally says. They knew so much, and then forgot. How do you forget how to read stars? Petra smiles. She's heard this question before. Many times. Maybe they didn't forget. Maybe they chose to stop looking. Young woman turns. Why would anyone stop looking at stars? Maybe they saw something that frightened them. Petra gestures at Disc. Or maybe, and I think about this sometimes, maybe knowledge like this comes with responsibility, and they decided they weren't ready. Young woman considers this. That's sad. Or wise, Petra says. Depends on perspective. After young woman leaves, taking one last look at Disc, one last photo, one last moment of wonder, Petra stays. She always stays. Lingers near Disc even when room is empty. Security guards joke about her. Petra and her Disc? Love affair nobody understands. They don't know her secret. She's related to Hans Meyer, grandfather's cousin's son, something like that. Family doesn't talk about Hans much. Hans died in 2011. Liver failure, probably from drinking, definitely from guilt. The 15,000 Deutsche Marks disappeared fast. Rent bills, beer, gone in 8 months. The fame he'd hoped for never materialized. Illegal excavation doesn't make you famous, makes you criminal. He spent last decade of life telling anyone who'd listen that he found something important, something that changed history. They took it away from him. He found it. He should have gotten credit. He should have gotten more money. He should have. He died angry, alone, drunk. Petra never met him. But she thinks about him sometimes, standing in this dark room with disc that destroyed and defined his life. Would he be proud, angry, vindicated? She'll never know. Same day, 3 floors above exhibition. Meller's office. Temperature, 18 degrees. Heating broken again. Maintenance says they'll fix it Tuesday. It's been Tuesday 3 times this month. Harold Meller, now 73, white-haired, wearing same battered leather jacket from 1987 that's more patches than original leather, reviews grant application for excavation in rural Brandenburg. Another Bronze Age site. Another hilltop with unusual topography suggesting deliberate burial. His phone rings, old desk phone, still beige, still held together with electrical tape. New tape, same phone. Meller. Dr. Meller, my name is Sophie Weber. I'm PhD student at Leipzig. Young voice, nervous, excited. I think I found something. Mellers learned to be skeptical. PhD students find things weakly. Most are interesting. Few are important. None are the disc. What did you find, Ms. Weber? Bronze Age gold artifacts from Denmark. They have astronomical symbols, not same as your disc, but similar. Star patterns, moon phases, and there's stone circle in England aligning with same solstice angles as your horizon arcs, and cave paintings in France that might show Pleiades cluster. And she's talking fast, words tumbling over each other. Dr. Meller, I think they were all connected. I think there was whole network of astronomical knowledge across Bronze Age Europe that we've completely missed. Meller sits up straighter. His spine cracks. Too many years hunching over artifacts. Send me everything. Already did. Check your email. Dr. Meller, I think... Her voice shakes with excitement he remembers from being young, from finding first important thing, from believing anything is possible. I think we're about to rewrite Bronze Age history. Again. After she hangs up, Meller opens email. Ancient computer takes 30 seconds to load. He waits patiently. He's good at waiting now. Email opens, attached documents, photographs, analysis, preliminary research that will need verification but shows promise. Shows possibility, shows future. He's been looking for this for 20 years since the disc, looking for proof it wasn't unique, that Bronze Age Europeans had developed continent-wide understanding of celestial mechanics. Maybe this is it. Maybe Ms. Weber just found thread that unravels everything they think they know. Or maybe it's another dead end, another promising lead going nowhere. But you have to keep looking, have to keep digging. Because somewhere in European soil, buried by people who knew things they shouldn't have known, there are answers. Meller forwards Ms. Weber's email to 3 colleagues he trusts. Adds note. This needs proper investigation. Funding available through my research budget. Who's interested? Then he stands. Walks to window, museum below, city beyond. Sky overhead that Bronze Age people mapped with gold and bronze, and knowledge that shouldn't exist. What else did you know? He whispers to empty office. To ghost of civilization 3,600 years dead. To craftsmen whose names are lost but whose work endures. The city doesn't answer. Never does. But Meller keeps asking. Same evening. Rural Germany near Merseburg. Exact location undisclosed. Temperature, 7 degrees Celsius. Sun setting, getting colder. Farmer walks his field at sunset, checking irrigation lines, making sure everything's ready for spring planting. He's 53, inherited this land from father who inherited it from his father. 5 generations working same soil. His metal detector beeps. Bought it on whim 3 years ago. Thought he'd find coins. Roman stuff, maybe. This area has history. Germans, Romans, Bronze Age settlements, medieval villages, layers of history stacked like geological strata. Mostly he finds trash, old farm equipment, rusty nails. Once, memorably, unexploded shell from World War II that required bomb squad and evacuation and never speaking about it again. The beeping continues. Insistent, loud, not trash sound. This is different. He sighs. Gets shovel from truck. Fine. Let's see what garbage we dug up this time. 10 minutes later, he's on his knees in soil that smells like rain and centuries. His hands shake. Not from cold, from what he's seeing. Bronze, round, maybe 25 centimeters across, and covering its surface. Are those gold inlays? He stops digging, carefully sets shovel down, brushes dirt from his jeans, pulls out phone, hands shaking worse now, adrenaline, excitement, terror, all three. He Googles, found archaeological artifact, Germany, what to do. First result, State Office for Heritage Management. Contact information. Emergency Archaeological Hotline. Because apparently emergency archaeology is a thing. He stares at partially uncovered disk. At what might be stars. At what might be moon. At what might rewrite history or might be worthless junk, or might be something the world isn't ready to know. His finger hovers over call button. Sun sets behind him. Sky darkens. Same stars that Bronze Age people watched rise right on schedule. Pleiades cluster in east, moon climbing toward full phase. Same cosmos that ancient people mapped with impossible precision. And somewhere in German soil, maybe here, maybe elsewhere, maybe everywhere, more disks wait. More knowledge sleeps. More questions have answers buried just deep enough to make us work for them. The farmer makes his choice. He taps call button. Screen stays black for 3 seconds. Then, faintly, we hear dial tone. Ringing. Once. Twice. Voice answering. Heritage Management, after-hours emergency line. Schroeder speaking. How can I help you? Farmer's voice, uncertain. Yeah, hi, I'm a farmer near Merseburg, and I think I just found something. Something old. Bronze, maybe? With gold on it? And I know this sounds crazy, but... Sir. Schroeder's voice sharpens. Alert. Please don't move anything. Don't dig further. Don't touch it more than you already have. Can you give me your exact location? GPS coordinates? Yes, please. Sound of phone buttons beeping as farmer types coordinates. Got them, Schroeder says. I'm dispatching team now. They'll be there within 90 minutes. Can you wait on site? Should I? Just wait. Keep people away. Don't let anyone else touch it. This could be extremely important. Okay, I'll wait. Thank you for calling, sir. You did the right thing. Line clicks off. Dial tone returns. Then silence. The Nebra Sky Disc remains the oldest known depiction of the cosmos. It suggests Bronze Age Europeans possessed astronomical knowledge that wouldn't be rediscovered for over 1,000 years. How they acquired this knowledge remains unknown. Whether they left other artifacts like it remains unknown. What else they knew remains unknown. But we keep digging.